everyone, welcome back to another video. And last video I talked about the win-over variation in French, and I had talked about the simple bishop b4 variation, and today we won't be looking at this one as I had shown it in the last video. I actually was planning to upload this video sooner, but somehow my file got corrupted, so I'm remaking it again so that I can show you all the second variation, which is the knight f6 variation. And this is the second most commonly played line. Black also has the option of d takes e4, but as we go on with the opening, you'll realize it comes to the same position. So black plays the move knight to f6, and here the correct move to play with white is bishop to g5. Black has three options here. He can either go bishop to e7, which is the main line, or he can go d takes e4, which is again another variation, or he can go bishop to b4 here, which is another line as I had said earlier. So we're gonna first be looking at bishop to e7 as it's the most common variation. Here the move suggested is pawn to e5. Now, what is the idea of this? Well, it is a very simple idea. It's basically to drive the knight out of this f6 square, so he'll obviously have to go knight to f to d7. And here usually the move white plays as bishop takes e7, and after queen takes e7 he plays something like f4 and continues his development. But if you are a person who likes dynamic play and a little bit of risk, I say go for this move h4. The reason I say this is two main reasons. Black really doesn't know what to do here, because he has a feeling you have a trap set up for him, and this is what happens especially when I play against higher rated players. They're very conscious about the game because they know they're playing a lower rated, so they don't know what to do with this. Like, they're scared to take it. Some people, like I've seen, they take it, and after I take, they just castle. I mean, that's like the worst move you can play in this position. After queen h5, I don't know what you're doing. So they get really scared of this opening. They don't know what to do at this point. Some people even play g6 because they're just scared. They don't know what to do. They've never encountered this position. So what is the idea of this after takes g5, queen takes g5? Well, it is quite simple. You have three main options here. You can either go knight to h3, you can go knight to f3. So you can either go knight to h3, or you can go knight to f3, or you can go I mean, it isn't forced, but you can go something like rook to h5. I've seen this happen a lot, but I don't recommend it. But the main move here is actually knight to h3. And what is the idea of this? And the queen has to go back, right? So queen goes to f5, e7. What you basically sacrifice your pawn for is compensation. Whoops, sorry. Well, play queen to e7, not f5. Queen to f5 is a bad move. So what you get actually is compensation for the pawn, and how you get it is by playing attacking. You have to attack a lot when you sacrifice your pawn. That is something you have to give. So usually you encounter this type of move, c5, and you see something like knight b5, knight to d6, and you get a lot of play, and that's why I recommend this opening. He will castle kingside, or he has to keep his king in the middle, and that's when you exploit the weaknesses. You can play something like queen to g4, attack this, knight to g5. There are millions of options. You can also check out a few Kasparov games. He's played this variation sometimes, and he's easily been able to trap the queen or get a winning position in the endgame. So if you don't want to go with it, then I suggest you can just take bishop takes e7, queen takes e7, simple f4 development followed by knight f3, etc. So if we go back to knight f6, sorry, yeah. Now here, so as I said, bishop to g5 is the obvious move. What is the other option? I showed you all bishop e7 right now. The other option is bishop to b4, and in this case you basically play pawn to e5. Black plays h6, and after bishop to d2 you have a very simple position: bishop takes e3, b takes e3, and it's a simple position for white. Black has to retreat or probably go knight to e4. I really don't suggest knight to e4, but he can always go for it. That's the most played. I personally like playing knight to d7, but this is the main line, and after queen to g4 white has a very solid position. So what is the last alternative? Last alternative is to take, which is the last alternative. Now you have to take with your knight. Black plays bishop to e7, and after bishop takes f6, again black has two options. He can either go bishop takes f6 or g takes f6. Main line being g takes f6. You go knight to f3, and after something like b6, you do simple development, bishop to d3 or bishop to b5, your choice. Really, if you play bishop to b5, then you're gonna encounter something like c6, and what you're basically doing is you go back to bishop d3, but now you block this diagonal for a while, and then you just continue with the normal c3 development. Now if he takes bishop takes f6 though, on the other hand, then the first move you have to play obviously is knight to f3. You have to protect the pawn on d4, and after something like knight to d7, you play something like bishop to d3, and the similar setup arises where you push c3. You can either go queen to c2, you can castle anyway, and you just continue with a simple position. So this is usually something that black avoids, likes to play, because it doesn't give white any straight edge. As of obviously white's more active in the position, but it doesn't give you a straight up advantage, which most of the French lines do give to white. So black usually likes playing knight to f6 more than bishop to b4, because for bishop to b4 you need to know a lot of theory. That's the case. Also, one more thing, black can play d takes e4 as well. He can play this, but it will arise to the same position after knight f6, so you don't need to worry about it. Anyways guys, that was the full knight c3 variation, third move knight c3. Those are the main two moves that three moves actually that black plays. You won't encounter anything different most of the time. So my personal take is you should go for knight c3. Obviously there are other alternatives. As I said in my previous video, you can go for advanced variation, you can go for exchange variation, you can go for Tarrasch if you want. There are multiple options. In the end you should go with what you feel is the best, as I said. So yeah, anyways, thanks a lot for watching the video. Please share the video if you did enjoy. Hit the like button, subscribe, comment, whatever you feel like doing, and I'll see you all in the next one.